Hello, David Miller here, President at eMAM. We're very excited to present today's session about our technology partnership with Avid. And I have with me Chuck Below, he's our VP Business Development. I will turn it over to him and he will present today. If you have any questions, please put them in the question box. We'll try to answer either during or at the end of the session. We will record today's session, so if you want a copy of the PowerPoint and or the recording, let us know. And we'll give people another few seconds to join in today. But thank you again for joining us. Thank you for your interest, and we're very excited about our partnership we have now with Avid. So go ahead, Chuck, if you want to take it over from here. Thank you.
Oops, got to turn the mute off. Hi there. So again, welcome to the webinar today. Again, we're going to be discussing how eMAM and Avid are now integrated with a panel, but we'll be discussing a few other things on what eMAM can do for you as a media asset management software. Again, we are, since 2006, developing our MAM system. We also support all types of media, video, audio, images, graphics, documents, PowerPoints, doesn't really matter. We're able to kind of manage all of that content and so on. What's also key for us is the deployment of the system. So it can be deployed all on-prem, all in the cloud, or in a hybrid mode. And as you'll see, we'll also support multiple locations as well in managing different types of media in different facilities and things like that, all in MAM, and then of course making it available for search across all the platforms and locations. So first off, on adding a MAM system to your production, again, the key things, this is probably pretty obvious to most with regards to a MAM system, but being able to then centralize all the content in one location or multiple locations, depending on the situation with the users and so on, and where they're set up. We then organize all the content and assign all the content to what we call categories, being able to then set permission levels, security levels, what they can do with the media, who gets to see the media, how they can process the media, and then of course metadata to the nth degree on assets, subclips, markers, categories, projects. So you have all this type of metadata that you can bring into the system, and then of course use that for searching. Now what's key then as well is how do editors then access that media? So you have various ways in which through the editors, so for Avid, which we'll talk about today, DaVinci, and then the Creative Cloud system, and then also we'll talk about Cutting Room as well. But through a panel, they're able to log in within their NLE system and then be able to access that content. And then through this process, they can either do proxy edits or work with the original content and link to the content, localize the content. And in some cases, we have users using Drastic Technologies Media Reactor to actually stream the content from the cloud and edit that. But there are various ways in which you can stream and edit and access the content as well, depending on where the software, or I'm sorry, where the files are, media files that you have. And then in most cases, not currently today with Avid, but in DaVinci and then of course with the Adobe Suite, you can actually export back sequences, but also projects as well. On the Avid side, we'll talk about this, but it's mainly just sequences currently today. They're in development with their panel and continue to grow with the panel. So we'll grow right along with them as they start adding more and more features to the system. But the idea is that editors who put together sequences, they can upload those back into eMAM system and then do a review and approve. They can share the media, share the projects and so on. But once you check it back into the system, into eMAM, others are able to then check out that project and edit it. And then there's also, we won't get into it today, but there are also ways in which you could export the project or to your local system, and then have multiple people working on the system outside of eMAM, and then put that project back into the MAM system. So there's a lot of technology and discussions and so on we would have with you on how all that works. But the idea really is, again, we can manage then projects or sequences in the Avid's case currently within the MAM system. Okay, so eMAM is a multi-platform PAM system as well as a MAM system. So we're able to manage all the project files for the Avid side and DaVinci Resolve side. With the Avid system, we're doing sequences currently, so managing sequences, but we could also upload media as well into the MAM system and do that. But on the project side, not yet. So that's not there. Cutting Room on the far right-hand side, this is a great little product for editing in the cloud and all based in the cloud. So we're working with them right now and building a panel to be able to then access media through the panel, through Cutting Room, be able to cut videos. They have transitions, they have graphics, they have overlays, they have voiceovers, they have live streaming into an editor. They have ways in which also to share editing projects live with multiple people logged into the edit session as well. So very unique product. So you might want to check that out as well. Not a replacement for any of the NLE systems that we have today, but a great editor that's all based in the cloud there. So I just want to kind of give you that information as well. Okay, now eMAM, so Media Asset Management, we have a database that indexes the media and stores the media and manages the locations of the media and where it goes. So in the case of eMAM, we have the ability to ingest media. You have then the ability to store locally on a NAS or a SAN. You also can store media in multiple locations. So I could have 5 facilities, 3, 4, 5 facilities with eMAM connected to that via what we call an app node, and the local storage and local maybe LTO, excuse me, the LTO library system, being able to then store the media there at those different locations. So we can manage the process and where things go and how they're stored and then copied and so on. But we also, of course, store media in the cloud as well. And through permissions, through the eMAM system, then users can then access any one of these locations where that media is stored. So it's quite unique in the way eMAM operates on that. You also have the ability to store one file in 4 different locations. So I could have a source media, I could have production media, I could have a LTO library system storing media of the same file, and then also cloud storage as well. So we do have that capability of kind of putting things where they need to be for depending on the situation of where the editors are there as well. So again, with the eMAM system, all of these editors then will access the media all through a panel and access, search for the content, and do various things. We'll show you what the Avid capabilities are here in a second. Okay, so typically, now you can work in a couple of different ways, but I'm going to focus on uploading media, centralizing the media into the eMAM system, and I'll talk about how you can also do it in a different way. Normally what would happen is all of the media, the photographers that are out there that are shooting B-roll or shooting interviews and various things, they may use the web app or the application for eMAM to then be able to upload that content into eMAM. It's indexed in eMAM. It's then tagged with metadata. It's assigned to categories with permissions. And through those permissions, then people have different access to different media based on their permission levels in their user group. So we can create user groups, add users to those user groups, and then set permissions to be able to access that content, and then how they can also process that content there as well. But the idea would be is all that metadata that is available for, say, an Avid workstation to look into the eMAM system through the panel, be able to search, find the content, and then link or import media into the workstation, the Avid Media Composer workstation. Okay, so we're going to show that today during the demo here, if everything goes well and the demo gods are good. Now, What has to happen though is you have the eMAM system sitting there and you have a URL that you connect with and then connect with the eMAM system normally through like a web browser and so on. But through that panel, having the panel then on a workstation for Media Composer, you'll have to then download and install then the Media Composer panel. Now currently today, what it is that you click on your eMAM account. So you go into the eMAM system, you go into your account and click on apps. And under apps, you'll see Media Composer. They'll have a description there for both Windows and Mac where you locate then the panel. Now, currently today, and this is going to change here shortly, but you do have to license this with Avid, and we can work with you on exactly how that's done and so on. So, but the concept is that you go to the apps, download the panel, and then install the plugin into the plugin there, and then once you're licensed and everything, then it will show up in the Avid Media Composer menu for under Tools, and I'll show that to you today on how that works. Okay, so there is link versus import in Media Composer. So those of you familiar with Avid, it's either a link or an import, and so we do both or have options for both. So in the panel, when you find media in eMAM, want to grab it, you can either link to the media or you can import the media. So obviously with link, it uses the source format and then you just imports it directly into the Media Composer and you're linked with that storage. Now, one thing that does happen is if that remote editor is remote and the storage is not near them, eMAM will detect that and actually then localize the media under linking and then localize that media to a local storage. And through the settings in the panel, you can dictate exactly where that media is going to be stored. So in both cases for import and linking here. But so linking, what it does, if you are local, in this case here in this diagram, it will then link to the media with the source format. And then import, this obviously then will transcode the media and put it into the native OP Atom formats or whatever is selected by the user and what formats they want to use. So whatever the source media is, transcoded and then imported into the project. And in that case there, it's localized. You're not linked, but it's localized now in the local Media Composer storage location. Okay, so that's link and import. And again, eMAM does support both in its panel. Okay, so the panel itself, and we'll show it to you in the demo here in a second, but with the panel, you open it up, you log in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see my email address there, and I'm actually logged into the eMAM system, and then that opens up my window, this panel, to see and show the assets that are there. I have also categories of media. So if the media is uploaded and put into categories and assigned to me and I have permission to look at that category, it will show up as a category inside this window here in this panel. And then the Media Composer project, that's where we're going to actually take the sequence we create and put it into the Media Composer. It gets rendered, and then we'll talk about that here in a second. But the idea is that you select the media that you find, and by the way, you have all full search, MAM search capabilities there, searching for the content, finding the content you need. You select the bin or the target bin you're going to link to. In this case here in this demo, we're linking to it, and then link to it, and then it'll actually add it to that bin inside of your Media Composer. And now you'll be linked to that media. And again, if you are remote and you're not local to that storage, it will actually localize the content for you. Okay, so what happens is, again, as I mentioned, it's brought in, you selected, say, video in this case here, and the media now is linked with this project and then shows up in the bin under video. And so you can go back in and start adding more content or search for more content and so on in the panel. Otherwise, you go ahead and start do your cuts and edits and various things. And of course, you can import or link to media locally as well and bring it in and then add that to the sequence as well. So in this case here, you're adding, you're editing, And then once you're done with the sequence, okay, so you're ready at this point with the sequence to be able to then export it and then send it back to eMAM as a brand new asset. Okay, so the idea is that that sequence becomes a new asset, but first it has to be rendered inside of Media Composer. And so the idea is that you take the sequence, so I open up my, like in this case here, my bin where my sequence is, and then I drag it down to the Media Composer. In this case here, the name of the project was New Demo Project 1. And so I drag it down into this, and it'll actually then render out media based on your export selection. And so in the panel, you'll be asked then at that point, what export settings you want to use. So you could have all the different export settings. That's up to you. So you can select any of the Avid export settings, be able to apply that here. And then we have a temporary location where we export that media. And so that will be in the settings here within the eMAM panel. And so the media then lands in that export folder. And then what we'll also do is you can name then that sequence. So if you want to call it something different, like in this case here, we just called it version 2 demo sequence, and then we can hit the export button. Now, that media then is rendered out, it's flattened, and it's a one file now, ready to go back into the eMAM system. We will then be asking the editor, and by the way, this has to be open before, and I'll show this to you in the demo here, but the eMAM feeder then is used to upload that content now into the eMAM system, and then go ahead and you tag that media with metadata. You assign it to a category. You can add tags to it. You can choose an ingest profile to say, move it, this asset, store it at this location, and put the proxy here, and then have the metadata tagged here for that asset, and it goes up into the MAM system as a brand new asset. So in this case here, the media has been uploaded. It's going to become a new asset, and then users are able to then go in and preview this content. You can do a review and approve. The cool thing though is, and we'll show it in the demo here in a second, is the ability for the editor to actually go in through the panel and do a review and approve of this sequence that they just put into the MAM system. They can actually go in and do a review and approve from the panel there as well. So they don't need to leave the editor. Okay, now there is another option for this, and we actually integrate with a company called NTL, nonlinear technology. And so they've actually created a link between eMAM and other MAMs as well, but eMAM and the Avid environment. So either you're on Avid storage, you're on iNews, if anybody's left on Interplay, and others, you know, and so on, and then just media clients. This system then will scan all that media, provide an XML to us, and then we can actually import proxies with metadata into the MAM system. So you could look in the MAM system and see exactly what's inside of your Avid system, okay? And so what we can do then is back and forth, be able to then communicate with the Avid system with new media, bring in media. We can also send media over to Avid as well. So if we have media, of course, in the OP Atom, or not in the OP Atom, but OP1A, because we don't support native OP Atom files in the MAM system, we can then have NLT be able to then transcode that, create the wrappers, do proper wrappers, and you know, set up and everything for OP Atom, and then have it land then on the shared storage or Interplay or whatever platform the Media Composer's working from. And so the idea is that you can share media back and forth. Users can go in, find the MAM system, into the MAM system, find the content, and then actually then deliver it right to the Avid system. So this is another option there as well. But we're really excited about the panel integration that we can do now. So let me move over to that. Now, What has to happen in this setup here, again, you have to go to the eMAM system and go to the apps location, and then select Media Composer, and then download then the Media Composer panel. And then of course it gives you instructions as to where to put that panel in the different plugins. So that's the very first thing. Once you have that, your editors then are users in the eMAM system. So they have to actually be a user in the eMAM system to have access then to all the media that may be stored in here. And again, with eMAM, we're able to then store all the content in these categories, assign the media to these categories. We can go in and then set permission levels, what they can see and do with the media. And then of course, which user groups that you have, you can select those and say, all of this media is part of a certain project and only these folks are working on that. This is the, really the fundamentals of a eMAM system, being able to organize all of your content. You have full advanced search capabilities and so on within the eMAM system to find the content, and then be able to then search for that category directly and then see that media directly in the system here. So again, the eMAM system, I don't want to go into too much on that, but the idea really is that with the eMAM system, again, organizing all that content. Now, there's also another app that has to happen, as we spoke there. The eMAM feeder has to be open first before you open Avid Media Composer. And this is the tool that's used to upload the sequence that you're going to create within the Avid environment, or Avid Media Composer. Okay, so with that open and signed in, I have now my Media Composer here. I can then log into the Media Composer with my eMAM credentials. We also support, by the way, single sign-on and so on. So that is supported, Active Directory and various things. So with that login, with my company email and password and so on, I log in, I get to the panel. I have the ability to go in and then search for media based on maybe some search filters that I've created. I can go in and look for most recent, or just organize it by name or ranking or something of that nature. I can specifically look for different types of media, like if I'm looking for images and then I want to go ahead and preview that media. This panel here also gives them the ability to look at the metadata or update metadata, look at the history of the asset, look at comments or add comments for media that's inside of the eMAM system. So again, this is media that's inside of eMAM. And so it's not in our Media Composer as yet, but the idea is that we can bring it in and link it and so on. But this is a view into the eMAM system. And so then again, as I mentioned, if someone were to create a sequence, they could also run a review and approve process directly from the panel, and they don't have to leave the panel as well. And then of course, we also do version control as well. So you can go in and have multiple versions of an asset and then be able to import the latest version that you'd like to use there as well. But so the idea really here is that if I take this, I can go in and look at all the different assets. I can select different assets. I can then go in and look at the media that I have. I could go in and search for different nature shots here as well. So if I went in and just typed in the word nature under category, I can actually then find all of my assets that are based on, say, 30 frames. I just did these in different ways here, but I can actually then import those categories directly and have them link right to those. But in this case here for the demo, I'm just going to go ahead and select maybe one here. I can then choose the link media, or I can choose the import media. And so once I'll just choose link here in this case. And then what I can do then is go in and find a location where I'd like to add this. Maybe it's graphics or something of that nature, or whatever type it is. And then be able to then import that and bring that in. Let's see, that was not something that wanted to come in. I might have these already in there. There they are. So bringing in one of the assets, then I can go in, I can look at now the media that's there. I'll go ahead and go to the list view here. So that pixel 1333272, there it is right there. And then, so now that media is now linked to this. Now, during that process though, if I were a remote editor and it wasn't directly connected to the storage of where the original content is, that would have downloaded that media to my local drive. And so you're able to go into the settings and set whatever that location is for the assets that are going to be downloaded from eMAM. And then of course, this is that export, taking the temporary location for the sequence to go out to. But that's also possible there as well to set that up. Now, with that said, so again, you can start using, I'm not going to bore you with the non-editing tool capabilities that I have. But again, with the media, again, you can kind of go in, bring it into a sequence here and so on, and then finish your sequence. Now, once that's done, I can then take that sequence. So this is called IBC project 07 something or other. So what I can do now is take that sequence and drag it down into that tab that said Media Composer IBC project. Okay, and this is where you're going to transcode that local file into a sequence or an individual file, and we're going to call this Avid webinar and sequence. Okay, and then hit the export button. Now, what it's doing now is that it's going in and then rendering out this file, flattening the file. It becomes now a new asset. And then it's going to prompt me once it's done to then go over to the eMAM feeder, then to upload that project or that file, not the project, but the file itself. So it says now here, file handed over to the eMAM feeder for upload. And so what you'll do then is jump over to the feeder, and it's now has hold of that asset that we're going to then ingest. So you have different ways of ingesting media, and you can, in this case here, it's just a local ingest here on my local system. But you can describe in these ingest profiles, by the way, by the admins to describe where it's going to be located and stored, where the proxy files and how the proxy files are created and various things. But that's what that ingest profile does. We use MD5 checksum. You can assign it to a particular project if you'd like, different categories as well. So if I just go into the demo category, this is that organizational structure of all the media. I can add a tag to it if I'd like, and then of course also add metadata to that there as well. So if we just add a house ID number of whatever numbers, I can go ahead and save that. This is that asset we created. Okay, so this, or the sequence we created, is now becoming an asset, and it's now ready for upload. And then it just kind of describes where you're going to go. You can also add more media to this if you'd like, and add media. If you have some local media you want to put into the MAM system, you can do so as well, or folders of media. But I can hit the upload button and then start that process. So it's successfully then uploaded. And then during that process now, what it will do is eMAM will then go ahead and create then that proxy file for that particular asset. So what will happen here as well, in eMAM, we have a dashboard. If you'd always like to see what's going on during the ingest process, we can hit the upload button, ingest, and view all. And so this now is being added. My services weren't started. Okay, hang on one second. Settings, not settings. Okay, what's up? Sorry, forgot to do this. Forgot to turn on my services. Local demo system here. Let's see, eMAM, upload manager running, task manager, start running.
Now you know it's a real demo when things aren't working. Sorry about that.
There you go. Okay, so now if we refresh this, So it's going to start processing the media. And then once it's done, of course, at this point, then we're able then to go ahead and preview and see everything running. Let's see, that's all running there. It'll take a second to get started. But the idea really here is that all of that media then gets uploaded into the eMAM system. We'll refresh this, and then there is our asset. So again, the idea for the panel really is to search within the eMAM system, being able to find that content, content that's associated with maybe a particular project based on maybe a category structure. And then again, you can import these categories and they actually become bins automatically. So I imported this one here, for example, and it actually named itself. And then of course, with that, I'm able to kind of view the content and so on. But once you import a category, it'll actually become a bin for you automatically. So with that, I think, Dave, we are done with the demo, and see if there's any questions on that.
Sure. Yeah, so we had some already, and if people can type some more in the question box, we'd be happy to answer them. Storage, we're agnostic, so that could be Nexus or others. On our website, our storage, eMAMsolutions.com. If you look under technology partners, there's a list of storage and archive vendors we work with. Second question, support for Avid media files?
Yeah, so the OP Atom, we don't support within the eMAM system. We actually rewrap it and put it in an OP1A. So we can store OP1A inside our system. If you store OP1A inside of eMAM, you'll use the import, and then that'll convert it to the OP Atom format.
Great.
Or you can do NLT does that process as well.
Yeah, and then we have some other partners, Medway, Telestream, et cetera, anything that. Great, and then where to get the system more information. So obviously our website, eMAM Solutions, you can reach out to us. Also, eMAM Solution has a list of channel partners, and many of them are Avid certified partners. So a great way to set up both an eMAM system and an Avid system as needed. So let us know.
And then also eMAM Solutions YouTube channel. There's a couple of videos and demos and things of that, of Avid and others as well.
Oh, great, Chuck. I didn't know you're that cool. You have a YouTube channel. Sorry. And let's see, versions. So the panel is supported not across the line, but you need an Ultimate or Enterprise license to get the panel support. So we connect with their API. So that's an additional question. Is your system replacing Interplay? So I'm reading as we're going. Also, let me do these one at a time. System replacing Interplay. Well, we're not an Avid trademark, so but yeah, that's the kind of area we play in. Is giving people a centralized library and a way to share things across Avid and across third-party editing systems.
Yeah, one thing about that though is that there's no project management as yet in the panel part for eMAM, but hopefully at some point down the road we will have that.
Okay, which was the next question, how you will handle versioning. So obviously anything eMAM we're going to do in our system.
Yeah, the only versioning we would be able to do then in the case of the demo you just saw is individual assets version 1, version 2. So that would be the only way. When I name that, I could name it version 1, version 2, version 3. Those become in different individual assets.
Great. Is there an integration with Avid Media Central Cloud UX? And right now, no. It's on the roadmap of things to do. So this is a panel integration at the API level into Media Composer. Can we import markers from eMAM to the Media Composer timeline?
Not currently on the roadmap.
Yeah, on the roadmap. And also, there should be a new version coming out in a few months of the Media Composer API. So we are working actively together. As they add more to the API, we're adding more to our integration. AI support. Again, if you look to our website, you can see under technology partners, we have a number of AI systems. Currently, they would be working at the level of at the eMAM web interface level, and happy to discuss those or demo those.
Yeah. So couple of things on that is if you do use AI, as David mentioned, you go into the eMAM system, look for assets based on AI, facial recognition, speech to text, natural language search. You can then clip and then create new assets off the clips and then import those into the Avid Media Composer through the panel.
When you export the sequence to eMAM, were there any third-party transcode software involved or for the rewrapping?
I just used whatever came with Media Composer.
Right. And same question. Great. Yeah. Let us know if there's other questions we can answer. If not, reach out to us, our partners, Avid, and hope to see you at the online or the upcoming shows, NAB, Broadcast Asia, et cetera, et cetera. Just waiting to see if there's any other questions today. We did record today's session, so let us know if you want a recording or if you want a copy of the slide deck, or if you want a demo. Happy to work with you or your partner or anything like that. And having said that, thank you for your interest today, and we're very excited about our partnership, and let us know any suggestions on things that would help your workflow and your needs. So thanks so much. Thanks, Chuck.
All right, thank you.
Have a great day.